Hi, you're all very welcome to this session, this Excel snack on Power BI. I'm Anne Walsh, and you're all very welcome indeed. There'll be a bit of ding dong in the middle and the background as we are letting people in, because quite a few people are recorded. If you're watching this on the recording, you are very welcome indeed. Okay, so let us start. Okay. So the Zoom gods are good to me today.
Hello.
Hello. Okay. Lovely stuff. There we go. That's better. Lovely. All right, so you're very welcome. This is 30 minutes, like I like to call it 30 minutes of Excel goodness, although today it is about Power BI, okay, and recorded for this one. So for those of you who do not know me, all right, either watching live or on the recording, a little bit about me. I'm also known as the Excel lady, but I also do Power BI. That's my other thing. I live in the west of Ireland. I have a website called excellady.com. I'm an Excel trainer and Power BI. These are the two things I do. I also write Excel Survival Kit that actually has a chapter on Power BI. Hate Excel for all those people that I see all the time who hate Excel. All right, and the workbook, Amazon bestseller, still kind of trundling away. I also have several books with Book Boon, and I'm also a certified Power BI data analyst. I've done that exam. An exam I have to renew every year. All right. I wouldn't say it's like marriage vows, but you know, you still have to do it every year. And I love movies, I love puns, and I love crime fiction. Okay. Married for a long time, and we've one son, and he's a software engineer. And if you're not connected with me already on LinkedIn, please do so. That would be fantastic. Okay. So the aim of this session, okay, is basically if you're curious about what Power BI is, because if you work in the IT space, the chances are you've heard people say, oh, Power BI. And if you're kind of thinking, I haven't a Scooby-Doo what Power BI is, right? This hopefully will enlighten you a little bit. I planned this session to be short and sweet, like a donkey's gallop. There you go. Just donkey coming in there now. Also, for those of you who don't know me, a chance to get to know me and just a little bit about my Power BI training offering, which I'll talk about at the end. Okay, there will not be a hard sell. I'm just letting you know what I do. Okay. So what is Power BI? All right. It's Microsoft's data visualization tool. It's the thing they use to visualize your data. There's two halves to it, as I like to say, the delightful sporting cliche thing. There's the Power BI desktop, which is free to download, and it's basically uploaded is updated, to be fair, every month. They have updates pretty much every month, sometimes big, sometimes small. The other half of it is a thing called the Power BI service, which is going to be an add-on to your Microsoft subscription. All right. And it's usually about €12 per person per month. Roughly, that's the cost of it. Okay. So you could develop your Power BI reports, but if you want to be able to share them with others effectively, you kind of need the Power BI service. It's an add-on to your 365 subscription, and you also have to have a domain name. So you can't register for Power BI service with a Gmail, Outlook, Hotmail, Yahoo account. It has to be like, at myname.com or something. All right. So just so you know, that's one of its kind of limitations. So what I want to just show you is I kind of want to show you kind of two of them, like a completed example, because this is what we're going to have hopefully end up with. Not necessarily going to end up with it because we've got half an hour, but I just want to kind of give you an idea of the outcomes. And then I want to kind of walk you through, okay, these are the steps that you kind of need to do to get through it. So let me just switch over now to my, this one here. And let me just do a new share here. Share my screen. Hi, Lynn, you're welcome. I'm saying hello to people as they come in. If anybody else haven't, you're welcome. All right. All right. So this is like basically, kind of one I prepared earlier. All right. I'm sure the ones that could do prettier and so on. What I think of when I'm kind of doing this is that you can go to and look at Power BI and you can see some absolutely amazing and beautiful reports. all right? But what I always think of is that if I was a beginner starting off and I didn't even know where to start, this would be a good starting point, all right? Because this kind of covers the major things you need. So for example, I can go here and say, look, clear this. I want to see Australia. And if I press the control key, I could see the Canada ones as well, all right? And I can see France. So you can see there, as I click on each of these, it's in turn, it shows you the sales by country. If I come up here to the top right-hand side, I've got data for 8 months. What I can do is I can say, look, I'm just going to slide that. And let's say I just want to see the data for 3 months, right? Or if I want to come down here to my category, I can go to this one, clear the select all box. I want to see, and I'm just going to use a control and click. For example, you can see by bicycle, etc. So this allows you to see a lot of different things about your data. So let me put the select all again and just reset. Okay. Now, I just want to kind of talk a little bit about the overview of getting it, and then I'm going to show you how you could do that kind of in Power BI. All right. And let me just do a little share here again. Okay. Zoom is very strange. Like you can be it'll do work fine with one thing, one session, and then the next thing you know, it'll decide not to. Okay, there we go. Yeah. Okay, so when you're working with Power BI, all right, and I'll kind of show you what it looks like if you open it up and kind of start from there, right? It assumes, first of all, that your data is clean, okay? But the cleanup can be done within the walls, if you like, of Power BI via a thing called transform data or Power Query. And again, if you've ever been on a class with me, you know that there's a particular song that I sing about clean data, which looks a bit like this: no blank rows, no blank columns. Every column has a heading. You might have to split columns. You might have to transpose or transfer your columns, blanks filled up or down, and remove totals and subtotals. So before you get your data into a certain kind of format, you might have to do that first of all, right? Your data will be in some kind of a table format, and you probably have many tables. Now, you could be pulling in that data from an Excel file. You could be pulling it in from Google Analytics. You could be pulling it in from Salesforce. You could be pulling it in from a folder, from loads of locations. But basically, it usually would come in some kind of a table, which means some sort of a grid, columns with headings, like with like in the data, and like just check your data types as well. Okay, so I just mean by that dates are dates. There's a particular thing in Power BI where if it's not sure what the data type is, it goes any. All right, so it's like I have no idea what that is, but I'll just call it any. Right, a bit like the ad they used to have a Rabobank a few years ago, where they used to say, "What kind of bank do you want?" Any kind of bank will do. Okay. Then what happens? Sorry, great fun looking for pictures of dogs here. Okay. The tables must be tied together in a thing called the data model. Okay. So your data can come from multiple tables and sources, but they must have something in common. Okay. Now, and in order to link to another table or create these links between your data sets, you have to have what's called a matching field or key. Okay. And every table should have a field that's what they call a unique identifier. Okay. It's like your primary key. An example of primary key would be like your staff ID, your PPS number, you know, the registration and the chassis number of your car. It's something that uniquely identifies it. And then you also have, to link to it, you need to have a matching key, which is usually called the foreign key. So an example would be, you might have a table that has customers, unique customer ID, but hopefully each of those customers will be buying loads and loads of stuff off you, and you'll be sending them loads and loads of invoices. So in your table of invoices, that customer ID will be in it many times, and that's called the foreign key. And then what? Okay. Always reminds me of that, you know, there used to be a thing on YouTube of the guy eating the bacon in front of the dog, and the dog would go, "Ooh, and then what did you do?" So I was kind of inspired by that when I was doing this. I might even send you the link to that one if I can find it afterwards. Once you've pulled your data in, cleaned it up, tied it together, you then have to create what's called measures or formulas. All right. And if you work with Excel, they do your calculations. They add up the value of your sales. They find your profit for you, you know, if they compare it to last year. Basically, it's like a calculation. And there's a lot of similarities between itself and Excel formulas, but it's what's called DAX, which is data analysis expression. All right. And if you search for DAX on Amazon, what you will find will be many hair products, as I can tell you from experience. All right. Not, you know, so you have to look for, you know, DAX and Power BI. Otherwise, you'll find yourself with a lot of advertisements for hair gel. Like I said, learn from my mistakes. Okay. And also, you have another bit which is important, which is that you're also going to need a calendar table, because one of the big features of Power BI is a thing called time intelligence. So it means, for example, you can compare things with last year. You can compare, you know, this time last year. You can say this day last year. You know, you can say I want this time like 3 years ago, and that's one of its big strengths. But to do that in Power BI, you need to have a thing called a calendar table, all right, or a date table, also called that too. And it has all the dates. The basic structure is that all the dates that, you know, that your data is in, all right, usually from the start of the year that it started, and it goes out to the end of the year that you're currently in, right? So it goes all the way out that way. And then you can add in other elements. You can add in, you know, months, you know, months, month numbers, years. If you have any kind of fiscal years as well, you can kind of put all that into it as well. Okay. And finally, yes, you've all been waiting for this one. You have your visualizations, which is, you know, what I like to call the sexy bit. All this other bit is like if you have a house, you have to put in plumbing, electricity, and you know, heating. Heating with no plumbing, you know, no heating and no electricity is no fun at all. As you know, some of us discovered during the various storms you've had in the last year. No fun at all. Right? So the kind of visualizations you have is you can have like cards to capture a single number. I want to show the total number of customers. I want to show my total sales for the year. You can have slicers to slice and dice, like I showed you there in the demo. I want to see the data for a country. I want to see the data for a category. Can have your line charts, track changes over time, column bar charts. You can have maps, gauges, and there's loads and loads and loads of other data visualizations in it. Okay. So just the last thing I just want to mention to you then before I kind of walk you through, because I have some, as I say, some I prepared earlier, right, is once you have prepared your reports, etc., in Power BI, okay, you've got it all together, then what you do is you then publish it to what's called Power BI service, right? You put it into the cloud. And then you can create a thing called a dashboard. And I always think of a dashboard, it's a bit like if you go to a buffet or you say, and I'll have a bit of this and I'll have a bit of that and I'll have a dash of this and a dash of that. That's what a dashboard does. You can pick out the various visuals that you like, and then you can save it as an app to share as you like it. All right, so let's open up. Okay, now just to say to you, you know, this is an overview. It's kind of like just to get a sense of what it's about. When I'm doing the dashboard in a day training, which kind of runs over, you know, 5 90-minute modules, it's from the Microsoft curriculum. It's called Dashboard in a Day. I don't do it in a day because, as I say to people, that's basically mental cruelty. All right, so that one there. So let me just stop the share for a second, and let's just open up a blank Power BI file here. All right, there's this one. Okay, lovely. Yes, we are recording. I had to do all that again. Let me share my screen here now. All right, so just before I get into the, like, showing you how you do it with some simple files, etc., has anybody got any questions or comments about the overview or anything?
No.
Okay. All right. If you do, just pop them in the chat. I'll be kind of doing the thing you're not supposed to do, which is the multitasking. All right. So let me just share my screen here now. Okay. So when you go into Power BI, you're going to see something that looks a little bit like this. All right. Mightn't be exactly like this, And to kick off, you click on a blank report. And that's where I start on. I'll just give it a second now to come up with a blank report. And let's, okay. So this is kind of like my blank canvas. This is ready to go. So the first thing I need to do is I need to pull some data into it. So to get the data in, there's a lot of options here. And sample data is a good one. But if I come up here to this one, which says get data, and see there's a whole bunch of different data sources I can go to. And if you have something like Oracle or Salesforce, if I go to more, I can put it up now for a second. See there's a whole bunch of, these are the other places you can kind of get your data from. But I'm going to go to data and I'm going to go to Excel workbook. Okay, and I have a number of files that I prepared earlier, and I'm going to click on this one. Let's say current transactions. I'm going to go to open. I'm just going to import two so you can see what it's like. Like I said, this is meant to be an overview, just that one. So just do that for a second. And when it comes in, okay, I'm just going to go, let's say, to current two up here. Okay. So if you look over here on the left-hand side, what you see down here are the sheets I have in the workbook. Okay, and what these up here are called the tables in the workbook. Click this one, and then down here in the bottom left-hand corner, I can do load or transform. So if I don't think my data needs any cleaning, I go to load. If I know that I have to do some kind of reorganizing on it, I go to transform. Now in this case, I'm going to go to load. Just give it a second. There we go. And I'm going to go apply changes. I can't remember exactly what size the file is, but I tend to use kind of bigger files because that's what people have. There we go now. Okay, lovely, just over 6,000 rows. And then I'm going to import a second one. Get data, Excel workbook. And let's say I'm going to pick maybe, let's say my sales territories, and then I click open. Right. Then as each one comes in, you can see over here on the left-hand side, there I've got sales territories and territories. And usually what you're looking for, the one that has a little blue thing along the top, that's normally a table, and that's usually where you'll be bringing your data in from. Okay. And then down here, down at the bottom, you can have load or transform or cancel. And I'm going to load that in as well. But usually a big chunk of what you're going to have to do is a bit of data cleansing, reorganizing, removing unwanted columns, maybe splitting things and all that kind of stuff. Now, once I have my data in, and if you're kind of thinking, I don't know what data, if I've imported 3 tables, where are they? Because I can't remember. If you come over here to the right-hand side, those are the 2 tables I've just imported. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie them together. All right, and they pop up. And I know, for example, that, let's say the key I have, let's say that's the key. And let's say what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie that to, let me just have a quick, like sometimes you're going to know what the key is and sometimes you're not. Now I kind of have to know that's the key. And then I look here on the left-hand side, see there, the sales territory key and the key. And if they're named the same, you'll find that Power BI will usually just create a relationship automatically. And then I just drag one over to the other. All right. And then you see there, it says many to one or one to many, which is kind of what you want with these data relationships. And then I click save. Okay. Now, so if you look up here on the left-hand side, okay, you kind of have, the top one is the report view, which is where you come into. This is the table view. So if I go to table view, see then I can see my different tables. Yeah, there we go. So if you're kind of thinking, what was that data set? The table view will allow you to look at the data. The one we've just looked at there allows you to tie them together. If you're familiar with VLOOKUP, that would be like an XLOOKUP, index match, or VLOOKUP. And then you have this other one here. You can also have a look at the DAX query view. Okay, so we're not going to get into that. We're going to go back to this one. And then just in terms of building visuals, this is my canvas. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on this, let's say, column chart here. Okay, so what you do is you choose the one that you want, all right? And then what you do then is down here is where you build it, right? And I think a way to remember that this is the building bit is that up here, this thing here looks like two bricks on top of each other. So I'm going to go, let's say, to sales. I'm going to go to country, and to my x-axis, and from my sales, which is current 2, I'm going to put in my, where did I have it now? I think I had my sales, yep, sales amount. And there we have it, just on the x and the y axis. Okay. Now, if I want to get the average sale, all right, I might have to create a measure for that, or my formulas. So the way you do a measure is you come up here to new measure. And up here on the left-hand side, you get this, it says measure. So on the left-hand side, you give it a name. So I'm just going to call it average sales. And then I jump over the equals, and then I type in average. And as I do, comes up, double click on average, current 2, and then I'm just going to scroll down until I get my sales amount. And then I close my bracket. And if I want to, then I can change it to a currency. And I do a little tick or press enter to do it. Now, if I want to use that one in a visual, I click over on the blank canvas again. I am going to choose, let me see now, one that's nice and handy. Let's say maybe a clustered bar chart. Or I don't like that actually, I might just change that, let's say to maybe another one. And then I build it here. And I'm going to add, let's say, my country to this one. I'll add the country to this one. No, I'll add the group to this one, make it interesting. Group to this one. And then over here, my average sales, and I just drag that down to my y-axis. Okay. Now, if I want to customize this a bit more, I come over here to this little bit with the paintbrush, and I click on this, and then I can come along here and I can say, look, do I want data labels, for example? Click on it there, just go across. There's my data labels, so it shows me the average sale by group. And then if I want to add a slicer, which is just the last thing I'm going to do on this, and I might just add a slicer for, let's say, region. Okay, so all I do is I drag it onto it. And if I want to, then I can change the settings. Come over here to this one. And I'm going to make it a little, let's say, drop down. And I can resize it. So I can come along then to this one and say, look, I just want to see Australia, or I want to see Canada. Yeah, so I'm that different regions as well. And I can also, to clear the filter, and then just come up to this one to clear the filter. Now, so this is that, my intention, I suppose, for this 30 minutes was for those of you that are kind of curious about Power BI, like, you see this chart, so you wonder even where would I begin? I'm hoping that will give you enough of a sense of what you would do. So just to kind of summarize what you probably just need to do, begin. I mean, there are steps to do before you get this far. There's steps to do like consult your audience, identify what are the things they want to see, what are the things that are important to them. You might actually just need to sketch out your, and let me just show you here now. And this is kind of a very quick sketch that I did with my very bad handwriting of this one. Okay. Share my screen here again, and then we'll. So, you know, so I just kind of sketched the one that I gave you. I sketched it out there, so you can see there's the cards across the top. I had dates in there, and then I had the slicers on the side, and then I had chart 1, chart 2, chart 3, and a map. So what you could do is actually kind of just sketch out what you want to see on it first. All right. So that'd be one of the first thing you'll do is kind of see what your audience needs, sketch it out on a piece of paper, and then you go to think of getting the data in, getting the data clean, connecting it together with your relationships, create measures, which are the ways to do calculations. And then the last piece is the visualization. So the data in some ways is the key bit. All right. Okay, lovely people. Any quick questions before I wrap it up? Well in time. No, you okay with it? All right. If anybody has any questions, they can pop them in the chat, etc.
Thanks, Anne.
You're very welcome. Okay, lovely people. The recording will probably be going out early next week. All right, and I'll send you the outline for the dashboard in a day course that I tend to do. And if you're interested, come back to me. And if you're not, that's fine too. You also have the slides. All right. Okay. Mind yourselves.
Thanks, Anne.
All right.